Have you ever apologized just for speaking? Ever caught yourself smiling when you wanted to scream? Ever nodded in agreement while your soul quietly whispered, "This isn't right"? Stay with me, because what you'll hear today might feel personal, might make you pause, might make you question things you've never questioned before, especially the last one. It might just break open a truth you've buried for years. We grow up thinking we leave childhood behind, that we outgrow the fears, the coping mechanisms, the need to be good. But the truth is, childhood doesn't end when we grow tall. It lingers in our voice, our silence, our reactions, our triggers. And today we're going to expose 7 habits that seemed innocent, but are still running your life. Let's begin. First, the habit of over-apologizing. You say sorry when you take up space, sorry when you speak too loud, sorry when you interrupt, sorry when you simply exist in a way someone else might not approve of. It's automatic now, but it wasn't born from humility, it was born from fear. As a child, you learned that apologies softened the blow. That sorry could keep you safe. That saying it, even when you weren't wrong, might stop the yelling, or the silence, or the shame. So now you say it to avoid tension. You offer it like a shield, not a sentence. But you are not a problem to apologize for. Your voice, your feelings, your presence, they're not interruptions. They are invitations to be seen. And healing begins the moment you stop saying sorry for being alive. Here's number 2. People-pleasing. The art of staying likable, even when it hurts. When you were younger, you noticed something. Being agreeable kept things peaceful. Being nice got you affection. Being quiet kept you safe. So you adapted. You scanned faces. You read rooms. You became whoever they needed, just to belong. But now you find yourself exhausted, not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too little of what's true to you. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you're breaking inside. You give, hoping someone will finally see your worth. But love that demands self-abandonment is not love. It's survival theater, and the curtain is heavy. Coming to the third, hyper-independence. You don't ask for help, not because you're proud, but because once, needing others left you hurt. So you learn to be self-reliant, to tough it out, to hold it all together, even when it cracked your soul. As a child, your needs were too much, or too invisible, so you buried them deep, right next to your trust. Now you pride yourself on not needing anyone, but inside you're tired. You crave rest, intimacy, support. Not everyone will leave. Not everyone will fail you, but you have to risk letting someone in to find out who won't. Strength isn't isolation. Sometimes real strength is admitting, I can't do this alone anymore. Next, overthinking. You don't just think, you spiral. You replay that one sentence 20 times. You draft texts you'll never send. You rehearse future conversations like they're auditions for your worth. Why? Because you learned that mistakes were dangerous, that getting it wrong brought punishment, that being too honest, too blunt, too real had a cost. So now you second-guess your instincts, you filter your truth through fear, and you call it being cautious, when really it's being controlled by your past. But not every misstep will destroy you. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every pause is a threat. Your mind isn't broken, it's just overworked from trying to protect you from ghosts. Here's the 5th, the terror of disappointing people. You were the smart one, the reliable one, the kid who made everything easier for everyone else. So now you carry a hidden rule. If I let someone down, I'll lose their love. You over-deliver, over-commit. You say yes until your body screams no. You bend backward, praying they won't walk away. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for other people's expectations. You're not a performance piece. You're not their success story. You're allowed to rest, to say no, to change. And disappointment doesn't equal abandonment. And anyone who walks away because you finally chose yourself was never staying for the right reasons. Now let's talk about boundaries or the lack of them. You were taught that no was rude, That too much emotion made people uncomfortable, that your space belonged to everyone but you. You learned to ignore discomfort, to accept touch you didn't want, to share when you didn't feel safe, because saying no wasn't just difficult, it was dangerous. Now you still struggle. You let people interrupt your time, your peace, your body, because asserting yourself still feels like rebellion. But boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. They aren't walls to push people away, they're filters that let the right ones in. Every time you honor your limits, you teach others how to love you properly. And more importantly, you teach yourself that you matter. And finally, the deepest one, mistaking approval for love. When you were small, you noticed something. Love came when you behaved, when you succeeded, when you smiled on command, but not when you cried, not when you failed, not when you were just you. So you started performing. You became the achiever, the peacemaker, the good one. And now you confuse anxiety with excitement, approval with affection, validation with connection. You chase people who give just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to feel safe. Because deep down, love still feels like something you have to earn. But real love, the kind that sees you in all your mess and stays, doesn't need a mask. You are worthy without the performance. And the ones who truly love you won't require your suffering as proof. Here's the truth. These habits were never flaws. They were survival codes. You were a child. You adapted. You endured. And you did it brilliantly. But now, you don't have to live like you're still in the battlefield. You're allowed to be soft without being punished, to rest without guilt, to speak without apology. You're allowed to take up space, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, loudly. You're allowed to heal. And healing doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it feels like anger, finally allowed to rise. But every time you choose yourself, the real you, not the version you were trained to be, you rewrite the story. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not too much. You are right on time. And your childhood self? They've been waiting for you to come back and rescue them. Now you're here. Welcome to Meta Silent.